What if Max Verstappen's car is Red Bull's biggest mistake in 2026? Because what seemed like just a bad start to the season actually hides a much more serious structural flaw within the RB22. Before continuing, let me know your opinion in the comments. Do you think Red Bull can salvage this season, or is it already lost? What's really going on within the team? And why is Verstappen struggling with a car he doesn't recognize? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more analysis like this. In this video, we're going to break down what's really going on with Red Bull, the RB22, and Max Verstappen after the 2026 Chinese Grand Prix, because internal data and leaks point to something much more serious than a simple lack of performance. Even before the 2026 season began, there was a feeling within Red Bull that didn't fit with their historical dominance, and it wasn't just a simple doubt, but a fairly clear internal warning. The team itself publicly stated that they didn't expect to be at the level of Mercedes, Ferrari, and McLaren in the first few races, something completely unusual for a team that had set the pace for years and had never acknowledged such a direct disadvantage from the start of the championship. That statement wasn't accidental, nor a strategy to relieve pressure, but rather a reflection of a much deeper problem that had already been detected in the initial stages of development, where engineers began to see that the RB22 didn't fit within the optimal performance window, meaning that the car, from its design, was not aligned with the requirements of the new regulations, nor with the integration of the new in-house engine, something that in Formula One is practically a death sentence if not corrected in time. The real problem here is that we are not talking about a one-off failure or a bad race, but a comprehensive concept that affects the entire car, from the chassis to the aerodynamics, including energy management, which makes the RB22 an extremely complex project to correct mid-season, especially under the limitations of the budget cap, and in a completely new regulatory cycle where every initial decision carries double the weight. After the Chinese Grand Prix, everything that had been suspected within the paddock began to take shape with much more concrete leaks, and one of the most striking concerns the weight of the RB22. There's talk of an image from Park Firm where Verstappen's car clearly appears to be over the minimum allowed, something that in modern Formula One is a huge problem because it directly affects acceleration, cornering speed, and above all, tire wear, putting the car at a disadvantage compared to its direct rivals from the outset. But weight isn't the only problem circulating in technical analyses, because several sources agree that the RB22 has very complicated handling on the track, especially due to pronounced understeer in slow and medium-speed corners. This forces Verstappen to push the steering wheel much harder to turn the car, generating excessive degradation on the front axle and pushing the team towards more aggressive strategies that ultimately penalize the final race result. Added to this is another key point that is being discussed more unnoticed but equally critical is the integration of the hybrid system, where the MGUK and energy management are not working in harmony with the car's aerodynamic behavior, causing moments when the RB22 becomes unstable at high speed, precisely when the driver needs maximum confidence, which explains why Verstappen is seen constantly correcting in fast corners in onboard footage. Within Red Bull, the situation is no longer interpreted as a simple, difficult start, but as a critical phase of the 2026 project. This is reflected in both internal discourse and public statements, where an attempt is made to project calm while indirectly acknowledging that the team is behind its direct rivals. This confirms that the RB22's problem is not circumstantial but structural, requiring time, development, and very precise decisions to be reversed. The technical management is aware that the car has an extremely narrow operating window, meaning that small changes in temperature, fuel load, or circuit type can completely alter the RB22's behavior, making it very difficult to fine-tune during a race weekend. This is forcing the team to work on a nearly impossible balance between performance, stability, and tire management. For Verstappen, the impact is even more evident because the car is completely unsuited to his driving style. He needs a precise and aggressive front end to attack corners from entry, but the RB22 offers him the exact opposite. A car that the lack of rotation requires constant corrections and forces him to drive in a much more conservative way, reducing his ability to make a difference as he did in previous seasons. If Red Bull fails to correct this problem in the coming races, the impact will not only be a loss of championship points, but something much more profound. A conceptual flaw at the start of a new set of regulations could define an entire era, meaning the RB22 could become competitive only in very specific situations, leaving the team completely exposed on circuits where understeer, weight, and tire degradation are amplified. The biggest risk here is that the problem cannot be solved with a single update. We're talking about a car that combines difficulties in the chassis, aerodynamics, and hybrid system integration, forcing Red Bull to divide resources and prioritize key areas, something extremely complicated under the current budget cap, where every development decision has direct consequences for the rest of the season. Furthermore, the reliance on the new Red Bull Ford engine adds an extra layer of complexity because any significant change to the car must be coordinated with the power unit. This slows down the evolution process and reduces the team's ability to react compared to teams like Mercedes or Ferrari, which already have more established structures for this type of integration. In the short term, Red Bull's roadmap is quite clear and revolves around 3 urgent objectives that cannot be missed. The first is to reduce the RB22's weight in key areas without compromising reliability, something extremely difficult because it involves redesigning already homologated parts within a very limited margin, but absolutely necessary if they want to recover performance in both qualifying and the race. The second critical point is to correct the car's balance, especially at the front axle, where understeer is completely limiting Verstappen's driving. To this end, the team is already working on aerodynamic modifications, floor changes, and adjustments to the weight distribution to widen the car's operating window, even if it means sacrificing some maximum performance in exchange for greater stability and consistency. The third front is energy management, where Red Bull and Ford are reviewing the MGK deployment and recovery maps to eliminate those phases in which the car becomes unpredictable at high speed, seeking a more progressive and controlled delivery that restores driver confidence and allows them to attack in areas where the RB22 currently struggles. He's obviously wasting time. In short, what Red Bull is experiencing at the start of 2026 isn't simply a loss of performance, but the direct consequence of a car that was born outside the optimal window, with weight, balance, and integration issues that affect every lap, every strategy, and every attempt by Verstappen to make a difference on the track. The most shocking thing is that what seemed like a difficult start is now confirmed as a real technical crisis, because when the flaw lies in the car's overall concept, solutions don't appear from one race to the next. And that leaves Red Bull in a completely new situation where they no longer control the pace of the championship, but react to what their rivals are doing. Even so, there's one factor that keeps everything open, and that's the hidden potential of the RB22, because in very specific conditions the car has shown it can be competitive. This means that if the team manages to align all the elements, there's still a real possibility of recovery in the second half of the season, although the margin for error is practically non-existent. Now I want to hear from you, because this is the big question that changes everything. Do you think Red Bull, he can turn this situation around, or we're seeing the beginning of the end of his dominance? Don't forget to subscribe to the channel.